Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Guardians of the Galaxy is, of course, the video game adaptation of the long-running comic book series, movie franchise, and another video game that came from Telltale Games. Even though this is the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, you cannot play as all the Guardians, unfortunately. You only can play as Star-Lord. But when it comes to the battlefield, every character has a reason to exist, every character has a reason to be a part of the battle, and every character can be utilized in battle. As Star-Lord, you can utilize your guns to lock on the enemies and shoot them. You can also utilize melee attacks, including one fantastic example of kicking a round spherical enemy that is like a soccer ball. You pretty much kick it like a soccer ball. Now, this wouldn't be a Square Enix game without a stagger meter, and certain enemies have these stagger meters. Now, depending on what enemy it is, it may be a situation where the stagger meter may just down that enemy and leave them open for an attack, or the stagger meter actually may reveal their true self, their vulnerable inside. Star-Lord can also dash and dodge, jump, and pretty much do the typical things that you would have expected from a game like this, from an action-adventure third-person shooter. Of course, there are upgrades for not only Star-Lord, but also his companions, his fellow Guardians. And those upgrades tie into the abilities that each of the Guardians have that can be utilized in battle. For an example, Groot can actually pin down enemies temporarily with his vines and his legs and his arms, whereas Drax can utilize a heavy attack that does a great amount of stagger damage to an enemy, while Gamora's attack does more heavy damage to the health. Rocket Raccoon's initial attack can cause a gigantic explosion, and of course, as you get more skill points, you get experience points, you get skill points, you're able to gain even more abilities that can be purchased not only for Star-Lord but also his fellow Guardians. While it is unfortunate that you can't play with each character, like having a specific chapter made for Drax or Rocket, it does help add to the combat that you're actually able to utilize them during a battle. Another big part of the gameplay is outside of battle and the interactions with the Guardians. For example, Drax can pick up heavy objects and you can direct him to put this object here so you'll be able to climb to a higher space. Gamora can cut through vines, and Rocket can hack terminals to open up doors, and Groot can provide bridges with his vine arms and hands and legs. So it's very interesting to see them actually implement the Guardians as gameplay mechanics beyond the battle system. As expected when it comes to a Guardians game is the character interactions, and as Star-Lord you will have many an opportunity to not only hear conversations talking around you or about you, but also interject into those conversations, giving your opinion. And one of the best parts about this game is that certain dialogue decisions and even physical decisions, like deciding to have Drax throw Rocket across a ravine so he can activate a bridge that is necessary for the rest of the team to cross. And from what I've seen in just the first few chapters, a lot of these instances, these moments, these choices, they will be brought up again, they will be remarked upon, they will be noticed by the characters, and they will move on as the story progresses, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Which you can't have a Guardians of the Galaxy game without a stellar soundtrack, and I will not spoil some of the gems that are associated with this game, specifically a lot of those songs from the 80s that you would expect to be in Star-Lord's playlist. And it really does a great job in making you feel like you're experiencing a Guardians of the Galaxy experience. Songs actually play into another gameplay aspect, and that's the huddle. At certain times, if a battle goes long-winded, you're able to build up the meter to activate the huddle. Through the right dialogue choices, Star-Lord is able to buff the characters by helping their attack power, their health, and of course, the music also plays a role in that as well, because now you're getting inspirational music to buff your characters as you go back into battle. Technically, the game looks phenomenal. I'm playing the PS4 version on a PlayStation 5. Frame rate drops are very rare, though I've seen a few, mostly just moving the camera around. That's pretty much like the biggest frame rate drops I noticed. Haven't had any crashes or game-breaking bugs, though I've seen quite a few people talk about bugs, especially when it comes to the collectibles. And with the chapter selecting the way that it is, which is very weird. If you're doing chapter select, it pretty much just erases whatever collectibles you had before. So you're pretty much just going through the whole chapter to get the collectibles all over again and kind of playing through that way. I don't get it. It's very weird to have a chapter select like that. It doesn't remember the collectibles that you already collected. Overall, Guardians of the Galaxy is a spectacular game in a lot of ways. Gameplay wise, that's probably the lowest point of the game for me. It's not bad, it's just typical, it's average. It doesn't feel like it's remarkable in a majority of ways, but it's solid. It does what it needs to do. But the character interactions, the story presentation thus far, just the general feel of really playing a Guardians of the Galaxy game that isn't a point-and-click adventure like the Telltale Games' version was, this does a masterful job. This is one of those games I didn't necessarily have much hope for or really even thinking about it that much coming into the season. And now that I'm playing it, I have to give kudos to Eidos Montreal and Square Enix for this, because this is so much better than, say, the Avengers game that came out last year. This is exactly what you would have wanted from a Guardians of the Galaxy game presented in this manner, beyond the ability to actually play with all of the Guardians. So if you enjoy these type of games, if you enjoy comic book games, if you enjoy the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you enjoy single player experiences that isn't as grand or as fun when it comes to a gameplay perspective as, say, Spider-Man, but is solid enough with some great dialogue choices, some great character interactions, and a magnificent soundtrack, this game is perfect for you during a very busy holiday season. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Now if you don't mind, I have decided that I will have to sell Rocket off because we have a big debt that we have to pay off, and Groot is just too nice of a thing to sell off, so why not sell off the rodent? But if it doesn't work out and we're strapped for units, I guess we'll go to jail and have no choice but to say, oh lordy.